Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. What do we have here? FSD 12.5.1.2. It was 9 days ago when Elon said that in 10 days, Hardware 3 vehicles would finally get FSD 12.5. As Tesla Scope said, if you've been holding off on updating to the summer update 2024.26, you can now safely proceed whether on Cybertruck or any other models. There's no longer a risk of being excluded from any future FSD 12.5 builds. So there's a chance many Hardware 3 owners are going to be bumped up to 2024.26 very soon. Let me be clear, there are no guarantees that Cybertruck or Hardware 3 owners get FSD with this next update, but there's at least a chance. So yes, FSD version 12.5.1.2 has been detected on this 2024.26 branch. Reminder, the summer update 2024.26 has indeed begun rolling out to part of the fleet, the one with YouTube and Amazon Music. I know the numbers and branches can be confusing, but the most important takeaway from all of this is that possibly Hardware 3 and Cybertruck owners will be getting FSD and the summer update right around the corner. Things can always change moment by moment if something happens with the rollout, but as of this recording moment, things are looking pretty good. Tesla's plant manager at Giga Berlin had some new comments. He said Tesla is committed to the planned expansion of Giga Berlin, but it's waiting for more speed in sales. We will not spend several billion on the expansion of the factory without the signals being very clear that the market is asking for this. We firmly believe the market will pick up again. It's certainly a question of how quickly and when. On the positive side, he said, because we are now also serving the right-hand drive market in Great Britain and Ireland from Berlin, we have a larger sales market that we can access directly. But obviously, reading between the lines, Tesla seems to be in between growth waves at Giga Berlin as well. It was reported yesterday that Tesla partnered with Costco to sell vehicles from Costco stores. This was supposedly going to start in Taiwan, but Elon said, "I just canned this program. It was not approved." People have said that Tesla should not associate with Costco that closely anyways due to brand reputation, but for Tesla's mission, I think the more exposure, the better. We got the Tesla China weekly insurance number. It came in at 12,500. Comparing that to the same week in Q2, that number was 11,000. Thus, quarter over quarter, through the first 5 weeks of the quarter, Tesla sales from China are up 39%. And year over year, they're up 22.8%. We should note that Q3 of last year, Tesla was dealing with the Project Highland refresh, so sales were a bit muted during that time, so that comparison will be a bit skewed. Either way, Q3 is still off to a strong start. You may remember late last year, we had Sveta Thavisin, the Prime Minister of Thailand, who came to visit the Fremont factory, and at that time, there were reports that Tesla was looking to build a factory in Thailand, planning to spend around $5 billion. Not really a surprise, but as of now, Tesla has shelved its plans to establish a factory in Thailand. Instead, they'll be focusing on growing its charging network in the country. The report also said Tesla's factory plans in Asia have been withdrawn for now. Tesla's only talking about charging stations at the moment, but the matter of setting up factories is closed, and it's not just closed in Thailand, but all over the world. Malaysia won't go, Indonesia won't go, they've all withdrawn, leaving only China, America, and Germany. Tesla has told us they plan to make their next-gen vehicles on existing factory lines, and that's going to take some time to figure that out and to ramp up that production. So maybe we hear that Tesla chooses a location for a new factory by the end of next year, but I'm not expecting anything before that. For reference, here's a map of Tesla's supercharger build-out in Thailand. Honestly, Tesla only sells a few thousand vehicles in Thailand every quarter. There's some backlash out there today because a German drugstore chain, Rossman, will no longer buy Tesla vehicles for its fleet. This chain has over 62,000 employees and over 4,700 branches across Europe, and it said it'll continue to use Teslas already in its fleet for sustainability purposes, but it'll turn to other manufacturers for models for future vehicle orders. The reason they gave: Elon Elon makes no secret of his support for Trump. Trump has repeatedly described climate change as a hoax. But the context that's being left out of this story is that Rossman currently only owns 34 Teslas with a company car fleet of 800 vehicles. The company buys about 180 new cars per year. Of course, not a trend you would like to see continuing, but when it comes to the economic impact on Tesla, this is effectively zero. I know this community is a fan of learning, and I'd bet some of you enjoy self-improvement just as I do. In a meta-analysis, they found that language learners perform better across a range of academic subjects compared to those who don't study a second language. Another study showed learning a new language improved concentration. Another showed it leading to better memory and more creativity. And with all the time I'm spending riding randomly around my city testing 12.5.1, I prefer to multitask and be productive, which is why I'm such a fan of Babbel, the sponsor of this video. Babbel is one of the top language learning apps in the world, and it's scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks.
El fin de semana juegan al tenis.
El fin de semana juegan al tenis.
Hoy no puedes salir por la noche.
Hoy no puedes salir por la noche. Then when riding around supervising, the Babbel podcasts are one of my go-tos as they blend Spanish, the language I'm learning, and English.
She's both emocionada y triste, excited and sad. On one hand, por una parte, she wants to move to look for opportunities in another country. On the other hand, por el otro lado, she's asustada y preocupada, scared and worried.
Babbel courses are designed by real language teachers, and the lessons are designed to help you with real-world conversations. With a subscription, you'll also get 2 free live classes. Babbel offers a 20-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to try it out. You can click the link in the description below to take Babbel's quiz and save up to 60% on your subscription. Gracias por apoyar el canal. Disfrutar. Another storyline that goes overlooked is the cost of shipping all of these vehicles overseas, a business that Tesla is heavily involved in. The going rate for a vessel that can carry around 6,500 cars is about $105,000 per day. But thanks to these new tariffs on Chinese-made EVs, they're saying the current high shipping rates may not be sustainable. Eventually, you'll see rates at half that level, which eventually should mean lower costs for Tesla. And don't forget, BYD actually started shipping its own vehicles. In January, BYD started renting its own vessels, and they said they plan to add 7 more vessels to its fleet in the next 2 years. Another reason for the higher shipping costs was that the build-out of these vessels was slowed during the illness years. That's now picking back up, so these high shipping prices should be coming down. The new chief safety officer at Cruise has said he intends to transform Cruise into a role model driver, saying Cruise is a different company today than it was last fall. A professor who also serves on the Arizona Commerce Authority said Steve is bringing in this new culture, and part of this whole thing is safety culture. But the inherent fact here that this safety culture is a new thing for Cruise tells you everything you need to know about what this company was. They said Cruise is establishing specific benchmarks that underpin the role model aspiration. They'll apply to multiple driving scenarios like left turns or certain areas of a city where the company can make apples-to-apples comparisons. The company will track metrics that measure what it calls brittleness, the frequency of times cars become stranded or cluster because of blocked roads along routes. Cruise is now back to testing its vehicles with safety drivers in 3 cities, Dallas, Phoenix, and Houston. There's no timeline on when they may resume driverless paid rides. Waymo announced today it's growing its service areas in both San Francisco and LA. However, in San Francisco, it's only 10 additional square miles for a total of 55 square miles. Waymo did recently get rid of its wait list in San Francisco, opening it up to anyone that has the app, but in LA, they still have a wait list in effect. We recently talked about how Alphabet is investing another $5 billion into Waymo, but this latest expansion excludes airports. Waymo has been conducting airport trips in Phoenix, but they've yet to bring this to San Francisco or LA. A spokesperson said the company is in preliminary talks with the San Francisco airport to begin non-commercial mapping and driving operations with a human behind the wheel at the airport. And they said airport trips account for an estimated 20% of human-driven ride-hail car trips. And as we said would be coming, here's a look at a Zeekr vehicle in partnership with Waymo. If you zoom in a bit, you can see these massive camera and sensor units that almost look like giant speakers all around the vehicle and the LiDAR up top. This purpose-built mobility vehicle is being developed at Zeekr's R&D facility in Sweden. It's been designed for autonomous use cases and will come with a fully configurable cabin both with and without driver controls. Here we have auto lobbying at its finest, or perhaps at its worst. Industry executives and lobbyists are now calling for more certainty and less drastic shifts in EV policies and regulations. Toyota North America's VP is urging the government to avoid a patchwork system of regulations geared only toward boosting BEV adoption. Instead, regulation and policy should be aimed at boosting sales and production of all electrified vehicles, including hybrids and plug-in hybrids. AKA, the government should keep spending $7,500 a vehicle for all of the vehicles we make that have a 7.5 kilowatt hour battery or bigger, because it's the only electrified vehicle we can sell at a profit. He said, "We want regulators to address the issues without telling us what the answers have to be." It is understandable though the industry cannot deal with this flip-flopping because sometimes it takes years to plan the supply chain and everything you need to build a new vehicle. He said the industry is being pushed really far in one direction potentially and then being told scratch that, go in a very different direction. Just a bit ironic from Toyota, as back in 2019 they actually sided with Trump in a fight against California being able to enact stricter emission regulations. Fast forward just a few years and now Toyota is lobbying to say, you know what, EVs aren't so bad, actually why don't you keep giving us more money for the ones that we already make. Another bottleneck that's limiting the public charger rollout and the maintenance of those chargers, there's no nationwide standard for training these technicians. This article and some industry players were highlighting how there's definitely a shortage of EV techs. With this shortage, many companies that repair EV chargers have developed their own curriculum to attract people who are new to the electrical field. And since different companies train techs differently, there's scant agreement on which skills are required to be an EV tech. But there are some efforts underway from the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, working on certification. The certification exam program was launched in January of this year, and it was developed in partnership with major automakers. But it's still very early. The first certificates were issued in June. Many companies that service EV chargers are still unaware or indifferent, continuing their own EV tech training programs. We heard the exact same thing about a shortage of battery engineers here in the United States. Rivian reported its Q2 earnings today and they beat on top and bottom line metrics. Their EPS came in at a $1.13 loss compared to expectations of $1.21, and revenue beat by $20 million. The one line everybody is watching for Rivian right now is the gross profit per unit delivered. In Q2, it came in at $32,705, which yes, was an improvement over Q1, which was $38,800. However, going back to Q2 of 2023, the number was $32,600, basically flat year over year. However, in Rivian's defense, most of the vehicles it sold in this quarter were Generation 1 vehicles. So most of the upgrades and efficiencies and parts removals that they were working on in Q2 with the factory shutdown won't actually hit the income statement until Q3 and beyond. Rivian said it's reaffirming its 2024 annual guidance of 57,000 total units of production. And they're still expecting to reach a modest gross profit in the Q4 of this year, which would be a huge accomplishment from the numbers we just shared. And how about this? You can tell that Gavin Newsom is still quite triggered from his exchange with Elon. He said, "I want to applaud and thank the extraordinary work that Rivian has done. Tesla is not the exclusive manufacturer and any longer in this space, you're seeing a dramatic shift in competition across the sector. This is exactly what was predicted. This is exactly what we have been promoting, competition in the space. It's also worth highlighting in the shareholder deck, they said the cost of revenues for Q2 included $59 million or $4,278 per vehicle delivered of costs we do not anticipate being part of our long-term cost structure. But they did say just less than half of that was from accelerated depreciation associated with the updates made at their normal factory during the quarter. Rivian ended the quarter with $7.9 billion in cash, but including their credit facility, their total liquidity is $9.2 billion. Given their net loss for the quarter was $1.5 billion, they should have enough liquidity for the next year. Giga Berlin News shared that the electric shuttle train at Giga Berlin has now started to run. Plus, it's free for all passengers. Tesla is dealing with the same OTA update for vehicles made in China, the one we talked about last week for North America. The one where if the frunk was unlocked, the car software was not notifying the owner. On Truth Social today, Trump posted on Monday night, I'll be doing a major interview with Elon Musk, details to follow. To that, I would say, buckle up, my friends. Thanks to LinkedIn, we know that Tesla has now hired a head of operations for its Tesla electric division. She's been at Tesla now for 3 months based out of the UK. Last summer, Tesla unveiled plans to sell electricity to British households just like how it does in the US. Tesla already has an electricity generation license which allows it to export storage from industrial scale batteries back to the grid, but it's also been planning to apply for an electricity supply license for residential customers according to a job posting last year. This is Tesla working to become its own utility in a sense, largely through virtual power plants. Tesla stock closed the day at $200.64, up 0.88%, while the Nasdaq was up 1.03%. Surprisingly, it was a very low volume day for Tesla, trading about 47 million shares below the average volume the past 30 days. Don't forget, for those of you interested, check out Babbel linked below to take that quiz and get up to 60% off your subscription. Thank you in advance if you do. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.